Next thing we're going to talk about is a leaked image that came from the soon-to-be-coming-out Transformers Generation Guidebook 2021. And this is a page that had two previews of two future Masterpiece products. Now, one of them we knew was pretty much coming for a while, but then the Big V and all the craziness that happened in the world kind of derailed it, no pun intended. Wow. And the other one was something that was teased by Takara, but we didn't really know what the whole story was. So let's jump into that. First one we got here is a CG render of one piece of the soon-to-be-coming-out Masterpiece Raiden, the Headmasters Trainbot Combiner team from back in the day that really only had a Japanese exclusive release, both in its old Diaclone Origins and in its Headmasters Japanese Transformer release. Never came out here in the West, unfortunately. Now, this set goes for big money, and those characters have always been really obscure within the Transformers world, but Japan loves their trains. And the plan was, back in 2019, that there was going to be this big event that was going to be coming, and I believe it was in March of 2020, called the Trains in the Sky event, which was going to be this big gathering and festival of celebrating all the different fictional trains within Japanese culture. And they love their trains, whether it be bullet to steam, they love it all. And there was going to be this big reveal with the Masterpiece Raiden and showing off images and prototypes and all kinds of stuff. None of that really came to fruition because, well, something happened in 2020 that derailed everything. No pun intended. So that was that, and we knew it was going to be coming, but we just didn't have any information or images. And then, of course, some third-party companies came forward, and they showed off their future plans. And now we finally have a CG image of one piece of Raiden. And it's that of the leader himself, Shouki. So we got one piece of him kind of shown off, and that's that. Shouki, for people that aren't familiar, if they watch the dub of Headmasters, the terrible Star TV Malaysian dub, he was called Grimlock. Yeah, that was not confusing. So there's not much really that can be said about this. We just see one piece of it. I can say that, I mean, it looks like it's well put together. Looks like there's a lot of articulation in the engineering there of a CG model. And hopefully it's something that's maybe of that deluxe price point and will be a nice big combiner piece. And considering that we kind of know that we're probably going to be getting combiners in the future after Kingdom, be a nice companion piece to work with all of that. The next masterpiece we have here is another one that was teased by Takara, was mentioned in passing, but we didn't really know what the story was. And I even talked about it, I think, on one of the streams in the past, kind of going like, well, I guess it makes sense if enough time transpires. And what I mean by that is there's this discussion, and they show a prototype image, and according to the written information here that was next to it from the magazine, it's a rough prototype of a Masterpiece Skyfire. Now, this is obviously based off of the show model from the Season 1 series of Generation 1, and it is a very large figure. They have next to it, and also it's written there in the text, it has the Optimus Prime 3.0 version to kind of show an idea of scale and how big this figure is going to be. Now, up to this point, the largest masterpiece figure of the Transformers line probably goes to Starsaber. And so if you compare your 2.0 MP-10 or 3.0 MP-44, which are more or less the same height, if you compare it next to your Starsaber, it seems very comparable. I think even Skyfire might even be a little taller than Starsaber. And the reason why I bring up Starsaber is not only because he's the biggest masterpiece we've gotten this far, and now that would make Skyfire larger than him, it also means that this Skyfire will be larger than your Siege Jetfire, which up to this point has been the go-to definitive Jetfire/Skyfire Generation 1 toy. So I'm very curious to see how they go about this. how this is going to be more accurate, how it's going to be larger, the detailing, the bells and whistles, all the gimmicks. I'm really curious because, number one, Siege Jetfire is a fantastic toy. Absolutely incredible. Has some great engineering gimmicks. I love that you could close his fist and the little peg hole for the gun pops out, and then when you open his fist, it tucks away. Love all the engineering on that figure. It's a fantastic figure. I always suggest people, if they get a chance to pick it up, go out of their way to do so. But on top of that, it's a very large figure, and it's definitive in a lot of ways to what people would want of their Classics Generation display. So what is this going to do that will make it so different? That'll give something unique that people would be willing to take the plunge again after spending this much on a commander class previously in Siege. Combined with the fact that it was Siege and it was almost 3 years ago, and now by the time this comes out, it might be 4 or 5 years later, maybe the gap exists that it makes sense to do that. And it has nothing to do with trademarks like I normally say, because this is a Japan thing where trademarks are a whole different ball game. So it's not like, well, every 4 years you need a new Jetfire. They will probably get another Jetfire or Skyfire trademark in the West at some point. Actually, not Skyfire. We don't see that anymore. But Jetfire. So this is interesting. It is. Again, the images aren't that great. I apologize. It's a photo from a magazine that isn't even out yet, and it's very grainy, the photo, but at least it gives us an indication of what's happening with both the Masterpiece Raiden and that of the Jetfire. We don't have MP numbers, we don't have release dates, we don't have any of that information, unfortunately, but at least it gives us a good idea of what is to come at some point. So let me know what you think about this. I mean, I personally, the Jetfire, my concern is it's going to be very pricey. It's going to, like Star Saber, if I remember correctly, and that was like a lifetime ago. But I think Star Saber was almost $200. Masterpieces are even more than that right now. So I'm thinking this might even be a $400 item, maybe a $350 item. And considering a lot of people got a Commander class Jetfire and that already kind of fits their niche, and it didn't cost anywhere near that, it's going to be a fighting chance for this one is going to be very limited. But maybe there's something I'm missing here. Maybe there's something that they'll include that'll make it a big deal. Maybe that this is only coming out and being a thing because we have the Masterpiece Starscream, the new one that's coming out, so it'll be a companion piece with Starscream because we know their connection. Who knows what it is? But there's clearly something here that's going on. And hopefully we'll get more images and more information in the future. Let me know what you think about this. And hopefully that's it for news today.